Hi, everybody. How's it going? Can everybody hear me okay?
Hi.
Yeah, good, good. Well, in case you don't know me, my name is Courtney, and I have passed the BTLPT and 14 other Texas exams, and I tutor people to help them pass. So tonight, I'd like to give you some free tips and tutoring, and then invite you to join my tutoring on Tuesday nights if it seems like the right fit for you. Um, so we'll get started. So I know when I was starting my career teaching, I was super excited. Are you guys excited about teaching?
Claro que sí.
Yeah. And I would love to hear some comments. Like, why do you guys want to be teachers?
Hello, my name is Cecilia. I am currently already a teacher. I just need my certification for the BTLPT and the bilingual supplemental.
Great. Thank you, Cecilia. Yeah, I wanted to help students, of course, learn, and I also wanted a job that would be a little bit family friendly, right? Is anybody else like that? Y'all want a job where you make a difference, but it works for your family?
Yes.
Yes, I think it's important, right? And now it's not really a 7 to 3:30 kind of job like some people think, but it's still about as family friendly as you're going to get. Um, so I'm excited for you guys. So it's exciting to become a teacher, and it's exciting that they're finally paying teachers, more than they used to. But the tests aren't so exciting, right? So who's nervous about their test?
Me.
It's a hard test.
It is, and that's what I want to show you guys. Maybe some of you guys have already taken it and not passed, right? So I want to show you this. If you Google EPP passing rates, this is Educator Preparation Program passing rates that the state puts out. You can see this is by texas.gov, right? So if we click on this, so this is the data that the Educator Preparation Programs collect when people take their test. You can see that the BTLPT in 2021 to 2022, which is the last year of data, only 53% of the people that took the test passed it. And you can see that the numbers have been going down. It used to be in the 60s. Now it's in the 50s. So only about half the people that take the test pass it, right? And these are the people that are what's called finishers. No, this says first attempt, but these are people that I believe the only data that they turn in are people that are already teaching. So I think the numbers would be a little bit different if we had the data from everybody. I think it'd be even lower, to tell you the truth. So a lot of people fail this test, and almost everybody that contacts me for help. So I think it's indicative of the state. The Spanish is their first language, and yet they fail this test, right? So we can't think, oh, Spanish is my first language, I'm going to pass. Or we can't even think, I'm a second language learner, I learned it formally, I'm going to pass. We still have to get ready for this test, because it's not just knowing Spanish, it's also knowing what they want you to do on the test, right? But the main problem I think that people encounter is they speak Spanish well, but it's a real informal Spanish, right? It's not the formal academic Spanish. So in my course in tutoring, we work on polishing our Spanish, right? Um, yes, I can share this website. Yeah, it's interesting to see this data. I like to look at this because I also tutor for other exams, and some of them have even lower passing rates than the BTLPT, right? So you can check that out. And they haven't posted the most recent years, but I think it's going to be about the same, around the 50% mark. And then you can see I've taken 15 of these tests, right? So you can see all of my tests. And I passed the BTLPT with a good score. and I've passed the LOTE Spanish and a bunch of other tests too. So I'm well qualified to help people, and I've been tutoring people for a long time, for over 10 years, helping them pass their tests. So a lot of experience and knowledge to help people pass. But so if you failed it, it's not that you don't know Spanish, right? And it's definitely not that you're not going to be a good teacher. It's just that you probably haven't had the right resources, right? And we haven't maybe worked on fixing some little mistakes that we made. So for example, some people están hablando en español y luego de repente hablan en inglés. Eso se llama code switching. Por ejemplo, estoy hablando español, te digo, te voy a mandar un email. Pero en el examen tiene que decir, le voy a mandar un correo electrónico, right? So we got to use the formal, the usted form, and we have to use all of the words in Spanish, even though we know that in the real world, we do that code switching all the time, right? So that's just some background information about the test and about me, that I've taken these tests. Now, if you haven't checked this out yet, this is the free preparation manual. It's great, but it's not enough for most people to pass the test. If people just use this, they usually don't pass, right? But let's look at it, at least get some ideas and some information. So if we look at the overview and exam framework, we can see listening comprehension is 21% of the test. Most people do pretty well on that. Reading comprehension, people do pretty well on that too. Oral expression is the biggest part of the test, and people do not do well on that part. They only get about 6 out of 9 on that, right? And then the written expression, again, people don't tend to do well on that either. They get about 2/3 of the points. So you can see, that's a significant portion of the test where people are really struggling, the speaking and the writing. Even people that know Spanish well, sometimes their Spanish isn't the problem, it's their idea generation. Can they think quickly about a topic that they haven't seen before and speak for 2 minutes about? That's hard to do. Or can they write something quickly about it in the target language and put accent marks where they belong? Because they do count off for accent marks. So that's something I teach in tutoring. So that's a little bit about the test. So today, we have a little less than an hour left, and we will practice a little bit of each domain, and I'll leave some time at the end for questions. And if you stay till the end, I will give you a link with a lesson plan. So please don't let me forget that, because sometimes I get so excited talking about all this other stuff that I forget the free lesson plan at the end. But I want to make sure I give that to the people that attended live. That's important to me. So I'm going to give you guys a preview of my course. And if you guys could mute your mics if it's not already muted, that would be great. That way everybody can hear. So let me go to, this is, we're going to use little bits and pieces of my course today. Definitely not all of it, but just little excerpts of my course. So you can see I have a schedule of what we cover in tutoring, right? Everything's aligned to the test. And this is kind of small. Hopefully you can see this. Alyssa passed her test recently, and she did my course in tutoring, and she is continuing on with the bilingual supplemental. So she did a great job. But let's do a listening comprehension passage. I handpicked one for today. I thought we would do, there's a lot of them on here. We'll do this one. On the BTLPT, they have a lot of different types of things you listen to. Sometimes they're poems, sometimes they're, nonfiction, sometimes it might be a short story, lots of different things. So we're gonna listen to this. Might be kind of challenging, and not everything on the test is super hard, right? Some of them are not super hard. So I don't want you to think everything would be like this, but some of them are. So we'll listen to this.
José Martí, versos sencillos. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde crece la palma, y antes de morir me quiero echar mis versos del alma. Yo vengo de todas partes, y hacia todas partes voy. Arte soy entre las artes, en los montes, monte soy. Yo sé los nombres extraños de las hierbas y las flores, y de mortales engaños y de sublimes dolores. Yo he visto en la noche oscura llover sobre mi cabeza los rayos de lumbre pura de la divina belleza. Alas nacer vi en los hombros de las mujeres hermosas, y salir de los escombros volando las mariposas. He visto vivir a un hombre con el puñal al costado, sin decir jamás el nombre de aquella que lo ha matado. Rápida como un reflejo, 2 veces vi el alma, 2, cuando murió el pobre viejo, cuando ella me dijo adiós. Temblé una vez en la reja, a la entrada de la viña, cuando la bárbara abeja picó en la frente a mi niña. Gocé una vez de tal suerte que gocé cual nunca, cuando la sentencia de mi muerte leyó el alcaide llorando. Oigo un suspiro a través de las tierras y la mar, y no es un suspiro, es que mi hijo va a despertar. Si dicen que del joyero tomé la joya mejor, tomo a un amigo sincero y pongo a un lado el amor. Yo he visto al águila herida volar al azul sereno y morir en su guarida la víbora del veneno. Yo sé bien que cuando el mundo cede, lívido, al descanso, sobre el silencio profundo, murmura el arroyo manso. Yo he puesto la mano osada de horror y júbilo yerta sobre la estrella apagada que cayó frente a mi puerta. Oculto en mi pecho bravo la pena que me lo hiere, el hijo de un pueblo esclavo vive por él, calla y muere. Todo es hermoso y constante, todo es música y razón, y todo como el diamante, antes que luz es carbón. Yo sé que el necio se entierra con gran lujo y con gran llanto, y que no hay fruta en la tierra como la del campo santo. Callo y entiendo, y me quito la pompa del rimador, cuelgo de un árbol marchito mi museta de doctor.
All right, so the way it works is you listen to it once, and then you preview the questions. And they just show the questions, not the answer choices. So I'll give you a little bit of time, about 40 seconds to preview these questions. Then we'll listen to it again. And what you want to do is you want to write down the keywords, what you're listening for. What are you listening for here? ¿Qué quiere decir cuando escribe yo vengo de todas partes y hacia todas partes voy? So write down a keyword, right? ¿Cómo es el tono del poema? ¿Qué significa esta parte? ¿Qué va a ser al final? Right, so you want to write down the keywords. All right, so now we listen to it again. And now when you listen the second time, you want to be writing down what the answers are to these questions, right? You only get 40 seconds to preview it. So that's why on your erasable sheets that they give you in your test, you want to write down the keywords you're listening for.
José Martí, versos sencillos. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde crece la palma, y antes de morir me quiero echar mis versos del alma. Yo vengo de todas partes, y hacia todas partes voy. Arte soy entre las artes, en los montes, monte soy. Yo sé los nombres extraños de las hierbas y las flores, y de mortales engaños y de sublimes dolores. Yo he visto en la noche oscura llover sobre mi cabeza los rayos de lumbre pura de la divina belleza. Alas nacer vi en los hombros de las mujeres hermosas, y salir de los escombros volando las mariposas. He visto vivir a un hombre con el puñal al costado, sin decir jamás el nombre de aquella que lo ha matado. Yo sé bien que cuando el mundo cede, lívido, al descanso, sobre el silencio profundo, murmura el arroyo manso. Yo he puesto la mano osada de horror y júbilo yerta sobre la estrella apagada que cayó frente a mi puerta. Oculto en mi pecho bravo la pena que me lo hiere, el hijo de un pueblo esclavo vive por él, calla y muere. Todo es hermoso y constante, todo es música y razón, y de mortales engaños y de sublimes dolores. Yo he visto en la noche oscura llover sobre mi cabeza los rayos de lumbre pura de la divina belleza. Alas nacer vi en los hombros de las mujeres hermosas, y salir de los escombros volando las mariposas. He visto vivir a un hombre con el puñal al costado, sin decir jamás el nombre de aquella que lo ha matado. Rápida como un reflejo, 2 veces vi el alma, 2, cuando murió el pobre viejo, cuando ella me dijo adiós. Temblé una vez en la reja, a la entrada de la viña, cuando la bárbara abeja picó en la frente a mi niña. Gocé una vez de tal suerte que gocé cual nunca, cuando la sentencia de mi muerte leyó el alcaide llorando. Oigo un suspiro a través de las tierras y la mar, y no es un suspiro, es que mi hijo va a despertar. Si dicen que del joyero tomé la joya mejor, tomo a un amigo sincero y pongo a un lado el amor. Yo he visto al águila herida volar al azul sereno y morir en su guarida la víbora del veneno. Yo sé bien que cuando el mundo cede, lívido, al descanso, sobre el silencio profundo, murmura el arroyo manso. Yo he puesto la mano osada de horror y júbilo yerta sobre la estrella apagada que cayó frente a mi puerta. Oculto en mi pecho bravo la pena que me lo hiere, el hijo de un pueblo esclavo vive por él, calla y muere. Todo es hermoso y constante, todo es música y razón, y todo como el diamante, antes que luz es carbón. Yo sé que el necio se entierra con gran lujo y con gran llanto, y que no hay fruta en la tierra como la del campo santo. Callo y entiendo, y me quito la pompa del rimador, cuelgo de un árbol marchito mi museta de doctor.
If that was hard for you to read, I'll put the link in the chat box and you can listen to it again later. And you can also read the text. Now on the test, you don't get that, right? But that way, if you're trying to improve your Spanish, you can do that. So now we listen to it again. Now we'll answer the questions one at a time. So please put in the chat box what you think the answer is. And then once I have some answers, I'll select the answer and we'll see if we got it right. And I'll scroll down in a minute. Good. Que su espíritu es universal. So then we do the next question. You get 20 seconds per question, but you guys didn't even take 20 seconds. Good. Nostálgico. Nostalgic, right? I'm really impressed. You guys are doing great on this. And then I think there's one more question. All right, so people are picking C. So on this one, it'll show you if you're wrong, right? He says he's going to be quiet. It seems as if he's going to let his readers reflect on his musings. So dejar de hablar. So if we go back, like instead of listening to it again, we can read it. Callo y entiendo, y me quito la pompa del rimador. Cuelgo de un árbol marchito, mi museta de doctor. Right? But you guys did pretty well. We only missed one. So that was the listening. You can see there's a lot more listening in my course, right? With different types of listening. They're not all poems, of course. Some are just going to be more narrative. Some are going to be more like nonfiction. All right. So now we have the reading comprehension. Let me see which one we want to do for reading. I made notes. So on the reading, at least when I took the BTLPT, and this is what I've been hearing from people in my tutoring, is it's heavier on the nonfiction, like the informative texts, right? So I thought we would read this one, and then we'll do the questions. Now, on the real test, you're not going to be able to read it out loud probably because you're going to most likely be in a room with other people. But this is tutoring, right? So we're practicing. So instead of us doing it, you know, all reading it silently, I thought we could take turns reading. So we have los beneficios de que ningún niño se quede atrás para los padres y sus hijos. Does anybody want to read the first paragraph?
I would like to read the first paragraph.
Luis, go ahead.
La ley que ningún niño se quede atrás, conocida por sus siglas en inglés, No Child Left Behind, requiere que los padres reciban cierta información sobre la educación de su hijo. Por ejemplo, el progreso del niño en la lectura, la matemática y la ciencia, así como el desempeño global de la escuela del niño en pruebas estatales en dichas materias. NCLB proporciona fondos para el aprendizaje infantil, permite un mayor gasto por alumno, sobre todo en los alumnos desfavorecidos, y, en algunos casos, les da a los estudiantes la oportunidad de asistir a una escuela mejor sin importar dónde viven. NSLB también establece como requisito que un maestro sumamente calificado enseñe en todas las clases de materias básicas y alienta a las escuelas a enseñar con base en ideas y métodos cuya eficacia haya sido comprobada científicamente.
Thank you. Does anybody want to read the next part, this desempeño?
I can read the desempeño one.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Desempeño de las escuelas y las evaluaciones. Al igual que las calificaciones de los estudiantes, explican el progreso de su hijo. Los distritos ahora tienen la obligación de informar sobre las calificaciones de los estudiantes en las pruebas obligatorias de los estados. Estas calificaciones también deben explicar la acreditación y titulación de los maestros que trabajan en las escuelas de distrito. Si muchos estudiantes en una escuela continúan desempeñándose mal en las pruebas estatales por 2 años seguidos o más tiempo, o no hacen suficiente progreso, conforme a que ningún niño se quede atrás, entre otras cosas, la escuela debe tomar medidas para mejorar o, en algunos casos, la escuela incluso tiene que cambiar su funcionamiento. Los resultados de los estudiantes en las pruebas estatales les indican a los estados y los padres si las escuelas y los estudiantes se están desempeñando bien o no en las materias académicas importantes. Como padre, a usted se le debe dar los puntajes de su hijo en las pruebas y esos puntajes se mantendrán confidenciales. Además, si su hijo tiene una discapacidad o no sabe hablar bien el inglés, sus maestros deben asegurarse de que él se examine de manera justa.
Gracias. Then the next part, que ningún niño se quede atrás en la lectura. I'll read that one. Según muestran los estudios, los niños que aprenden a leer bien durante los primeros grados tienen una mayor probabilidad de triunfar con los años. Y los que comienzan rezagados en la lectura, en muchos casos no se recuperan. Saber leer bien conduce al éxito en otras materias y reduce la posibilidad de que un estudiante abandone los estudios. NCLB ayuda a las escuelas a ofrecer programas de lectura cuya eficacia está demostrada porque están centrados, por ejemplo, en oír y decir los sonidos, la formación de las palabras con las letras, la lectura rápida y la comprensión de lectura y el significado de palabras. And we still have a little bit to go. Does anybody want to read the next one?
I can read it.
Sure, thank you.
Además de estar centrado en la lectura, NCLB garantiza opciones para estudiantes que asistan a escuelas que necesitan mejoras según se demuestran las pruebas estatales. En las escuelas deben hacer saber a los padres las opciones a su disposición para la selección de otra escuela para su hijo. Las opciones como las escuelas imán, magnet schools, y las escuelas charters pueden ser buenas soluciones para los estudiantes que no tuvieron éxito en la escuela original. Los padres interesados en tales programas deben informarse sobre el proceso de solicitud, el cual en muchos casos comienza un año antes del ingreso.
Gracias. And the next one?
Mejores maestros, escuelas más seguras, ayuda adicional. NCLB requiere que nuestras escuelas cuenten con maestros sumamente calificados para todas las materias básicas. Usted puede preguntar por la formación y titulación de un maestro, así como cuánta experiencia un maestro tiene en esta profesión. La ley proporciona fondos a las escuelas que tratan de mejorar la calidad de los maestros que contratan. NCLB también da fondos a los estados y distritos escolares que tratan de prevenir el uso ilegal del tabaco, el alcohol y otras drogas por los estudiantes, así como las que tratan de prevenir la violencia. Por último, los padres deben saber que su hijo tal vez pueda recibir ayuda adicional en la forma de tutoría y otros servicios educativos suplementarios después de las horas de clase. Si él asiste a una escuela que necesita mejoras por un mínimo de 2 años, de acuerdo con el desempeño de los estudiantes en las pruebas estatales y si el estudiante es apto para recibir tal ayuda conforme a otros requisitos. Los padres de los estudiantes aptos que asisten a tal escuela deben ser informados por el distrito escolar local acerca de la disponibilidad de estos servicios.
Gracias. We're about halfway done. Algunos beneficios de NSLB son proveer el aprendizaje infantil, educación preescolar, darles a los padres información sobre el progreso de los estudiantes y aumentar la cantidad de dinero que las escuelas reciben por cada estudiante. B, mejor rendimiento de cada escuela, especialmente en las escuelas con alumnos desfavorecidos, el derecho de los padres de escoger la escuela de sus hijos en cualquier ocasión y tener maestros sumamente calificados en cada clase. Proveer educación libre y pública por cada niño y tener maestros sumamente calificados en cada clase. De exámenes más difíciles y más información para los padres sobre el desempeño global en la escuela. So here's the first question. I should have told you guys that this was a question. This is just like previewing them and then we can actually answer them. But what do y'all think this one is? So some of the benefits are And we can go back to the text if we need to. So some of the benefits are, so you can go back and kind of scan through it again if you need to. That's what I do. I go back and look through it again.
I find that I don't have enough time to answer them. If we just hover over a letter, does that help? Because oftentimes I don't pick an answer. Do you know?
Have enough time? Yeah, on the listening, you only get 20 seconds per question. So I know I ran out of time on 2 of the questions on listening. For reading, I did have enough time. But if you're, if you're not as fast at reading, then maybe try scanning things a little bit more and then going back to look for the answers. And use process of elimination too, right? So like this one, algunos beneficios. Proveer el aprendizaje infantil, educación preescolar, darles a los padres información sobre el progreso y aumentar la cantidad de dinero que las escuelas reciben por cada estudiante. That sounds like it's in line with what we read, but we always look at all options. Mejor rendimiento de cada escuela, especialmente las escuelas con alumnos desfavorecidos. El derecho de los padres de escoger la escuela de sus hijos en cualquier ocasión. It never said that, right? You can't pick your school in any occasion. It said if the schools aren't performing well for 2 years, then there's different methods, right? So that's not right. Proveer educación libre y pública por cada niño y tener maestros sumamente calificados en cada clase. Okay. Exámenes más difíciles y más información para los padres sobre el desempeño global de la escuela. It didn't mention that. So now you have to pick between A and C, right? So what do you guys think?
A.
So I'm seeing mostly A. Good job. So A is right. So it did say they have to have highly qualified teachers, right? But not in every single class, in the core classes, right? So that's how they try to trick you on things like that. But yes, if you're struggling to finish the reading in the amount of time that you have, right, then try to improve your reading speed by doing what's called repeated reading. So get the same passage, right? And read it several times in a row and time yourself. Am I getting faster? That's what we do with kids when they're learning to read and they slowly get faster, right? So we can improve our own reading speed. And there's also speed reading classes you can take to get faster at reading. Number 2, las escuelas también son evaluadas y si una escuela tiene muchos estudiantes que se desempeñan mal en los exámenes, el NCLB, so we can go back to the text and find that part right here. Al igual que las calificaciones de los estudiantes explican el progreso de su hijo, los distritos ahora tienen la obligación de informar sobre las calificaciones de los estudiantes en las pruebas obligatorias de los estados. Estas calificaciones también deben explicar la acreditación y titulación de los maestros que trabajan en las escuelas del distrito. Aquí, si muchos estudiantes en una escuela continúan desempeñándose mal en las pruebas estatales por 2 años seguidos o más tiempo, o no hacen suficiente progreso, conforme a que a ningún niño se quede atrás, entre otras cosas, la escuela debe tomar medidas para mejorar o en algunos casos, la escuela incluso tiene que cambiar su funcionamiento. So see how I went back to the text to find that answer? Los maestros tomen cursos para mejorar su estilo de enseñanza y que la escuela muestre progreso el año que viene. Well, I didn't talk about that. La escuela encuentre a maestros sumamente calificados y que la escuela muestre progreso el año siguiente. They already have to have highly qualified teachers, so that's not right. La escuela busque e implemente programas y estrategias para mejorar los resultados. Y si la escuela no muestra progreso, el NCLB puede requerir que la escuela cambie la manera en que funciona. It almost specifically said that, right? But we always look at all options. La escuela encuentre otras maneras de enseñanza que contrate a un nuevo director y a maestros sumamente calificados. They already have highly qualified teachers. So see how I go through each one and eliminate, right? So I definitely do that. Even if I think I found the right answer, I always look at all options. All right, well, there's more questions, but I want to make sure we leave time for speaking and writing. So I'm going to skip ahead to speaking, but just know if you're in my course, you've got all of this and way more, tons of reading practice, listening practice. And then for speaking, there's 5 different speaking things you have to do. A simulated conversation. Most people do pretty well on that because they're short responses. Only 20 seconds each time it's your turn to talk. So most people do okay on that. But when we get to the question and answer, you have to talk for a whole minute. That gets hard. You get 1 minute of prep time and 1 minute to answer. So that gets harder. When we get to the oral presentation and support an opinion, even harder. You get 2 minutes of prep time and then 2 minutes to talk. And most people really struggle to talk for 2 whole minutes. So let's look at this preparation manual. If we look at this, I want to show you how to get a perfect score because that's important. How are we going to get a perfect score on this?
Courtney, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Which is the difference between a Lotte 613 and this one?
Big difference. Good question. So the LOTE 613 is for people that want to teach Spanish as a second language or world language, usually in middle and high school, but it can be in elementary school. The BTLPT is for people that want to be bilingual educators, usually elementary or middle school, and they take the core subjects test, they take the BTLPT, the bilingual supplemental, the STR, and the PPR. So it's totally different things that you teach. The Spanish part mostly overlaps, but the LOTE has pedagogy, the lesson plan is different. There's a lot of differences. So this is only for the BTLPT.
If you want to teach this, how many tests do you need to do for this?
5 tests. Yeah.
Okay, it's this one and PPR and 3 more.
Yeah, 3 more. Yes, 5
okay.
tests. Yes.
Unless you're already a teacher, Pedro, if you're already a teacher, then if you're already a certified teacher, then you've already passed your PPR and the other things. In which case, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney, then you just have to pass the supplemental and the BTLPT.
You'd also need the core
certification.
subjects because the LOTE is different. The core subjects and they're making everybody take the STR. So the only one that like everybody's already passed would be the PPR. But like if you take the LOTE, like for example, I took the LOTE first before I took the BTLPT and I took the PPR, right? And I got certified in that. Later, I decided to add on core subjects. So I took that. Later, I decided to do ESL. So I took that. Later, I decided to do the BTLPT and I also had to take the bilingual supplemental for that. So you have to have 5 tests total. And that's why bilingual teachers get a stipend usually, right? You guys get a stipend. So like one lady that I tutored recently, her base pay was $65,000, right? But she gets a $5,000 a year stipend. And a lot of LOTE Spanish teachers don't get a stipend. Some of them do, but it makes sense, right? Because we're asking bilingual teachers to take 5 tests and teach everything in 2 languages. So that's what bilingual educators do. They teach all the core subjects in English and Spanish, right? So it's not an easy job, that's for sure. And neither is being a Spanish teacher, but at least for Spanish, you only take 2 tests to be a Spanish teacher.
So you cannot teach with this test and PPR. You pass it. You cannot.
This is just a proficiency test. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to pass the core subjects for sure, the STR, and then that would allow you to teach elementary school, right? But then if you want to do bilingual, you also have to pass the BTLPT and the bilingual supplemental. So that's why there's five of these tests. But But yeah,
Okay.
so for oral expression, to get a perfect score, we won't look at the simulated conversation because we're not doing that one tonight. But in my tutoring, we look at all of this stuff, right? Oh, and somebody asked about joining my tutoring. I'll send a link soon. I'll send it now just in case you want to sign up now. But I'll tell you more about the benefits and the price and everything and explain what it is. But in case you want to get a preview of it, you can. And remember to stay till the
One
end
more
for the
question.
lesson plan. Oh, somebody has a question?
Yes, I'm sorry. One more question. You mentioned we have 2 minutes. Is it 2 minutes we have to fill or
Yeah,
2
you have to
minutes
fill it.
top?
Yeah, 2 minutes. You want to fill the whole 2 minutes, otherwise you'll lose points.
Okay.
You
So
want
if we go overboard, that wouldn't be bad either?
No, it just cuts you off. As long as you've gotten all your content in, that's okay. Like if you didn't
Okay.
finish, if you didn't fully address the objective, well, then you'll lose points for that. Like if you got off topic or
Okay.
didn't complete a thought. But to get a perfect score, this sounds so obvious. You have to stay on topic, right? But a lot of people don't do
Yeah.
that. They turn in their things to me and they start on topic and get off topic. That happens, right? Everything you say needs to be well developed. Your examples need to be appropriate and effective. So like if you're giving bad advice in the oral presentation, well, they're gonna like stuff that's not pedagogically sound. Like for example, if you talked about maybe doing small group instruction for reading and doing it heterogeneous. Well, if you've studied grouping, you know that for small group targeted instruction, you actually want homogeneous grouping, right? So your examples need to be appropriate and effective and everything needs to be accurate. I don't know why I've got these little check marks on here. Let me turn these off. Okay, somehow I annotated or somebody annotated on there. You need to show a high degree of control of a variety of structures. That means you're varying your language structure. So you're not using all the present tense. Usually if you speak Spanish as your first language, you vary your language structure without thinking about it, right? You're using different tenses, the past tense, the future tense, the conditional tense, without thinking about it. But the second language learners I work with, sometimes they really stick to the present tense because they're more comfortable in that. And you're going to lose points for that because it doesn't show that you have a command of the language, right? Similarly, if you use all short little sentences, you're not varying your language structure. They're going to count off for that. Vary your vocabulary, high level of fluency, good pronunciation, well organized, generally coherent, register is appropriate. They don't say it on here specifically, but no code switching, right? Don't be saying words in English and don't use anglicismos. Even things that are actually Spanish words, like for example, in Texas, I hear a lot of when people are talking, they'll say troca instead of camioneta, right? Well, troca is actually a word that's accepted by the Real Academia Española. It is an official word in Spanish, but it's not a formal word. It's not a cognitive academic word. So on the test, you want to use the more proper formal Spanish. So you would say words like camioneta instead of troca. Or if you're talking about lunch, we say lonche a lot in Texas, but on the test, you would want to say almuerzo. Those are some examples, right? Also, your register is appropriate. That means if for the conversation, if you're supposed to be using usted, you use usted. If you're supposed to use tú, you use tú. So that's how to get a perfect score. So that's for the oral presentation. So if we go back to my course.
Can you give us an example of, you said changing the tenses? Because I think I do always stay in the present tense, or if I'm talking future. How do you go back and forth in a conversation?
Ayer hablé con mi amigo. Ayer hablé con mi amigo. That's the preterite tense. That's past. Ayer hablé. The present tense is hoy hablo con mi amigo. The future tense is mañana hablaré con mi amigo. So if Spanish is your first language, you almost certainly do that without thinking about it. You're not conjugating in your head. You're just talking. But because I'm a second language learner, like now, because my Spanish is the C2 level, I don't have to think about conjugating. It's just second nature to me, right? But I remember how it was to have to think about it, and it's almost like doing a math problem each time. Okay, I'm going to drop the ER, IR, AR, and add the appropriate ending. But if you speak Spanish well, you're not going to say something like ayer hablo con mi amigo. You would never say that. It wouldn't make sense. Just like in English, you wouldn't say yesterday I speak to my friend, right? So you're probably doing it already without thinking about it. If you're not, then you need to take a Spanish course, right? You're not ready for the BTLPT if you don't know all of your tenses. You don't have to know the names. Like, you don't have to say, oh, this is conditional, this is future, but you have to be able to use them. So you have to have a high level of Spanish to be able to pass this test. Like, sometimes people contact me and they say, I'm at the intermediate level for Spanish, but that's not going to be enough. You have to have a C1 level or C2 level of Spanish, like advanced level. So for the express an opinion or position, they give you a scenario. They give you 60 seconds to review the scenario. Then you get 2 minutes to prepare your response. And then you get 2 minutes to record your response. And it all goes automatically, right? So it's all timed, and you'll have a little timer on the top of your screen. So in tutoring, we practice and I time people, right? So tonight I'll time you guys too, and hopefully somebody will be willing to participate. So I'm going to set a 1-minute timer over here where we can see both at the same time. Okay, and I'm going to give you a minute to read this scenario right here. Okay, now you get 2 minutes to take notes, right? And one thing I want to draw your attention to is they're asking you to pick an opinion, right? They're not asking you to give the pros and cons. And I see that all the time. People give the pros and cons because we don't want to offend anybody sometimes, right? Or we don't want to think that there's only one right way. But that's what they're asking us to do, to pick an opinion and defend it. So it's okay, whichever opinion you pick, but you need to explain your reasons well, right? So I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to take notes. At the test, you will have a way to take notes on what they call erasable sheets, kind of like a dry erase board, but they're little papers that you can write on and you can erase. So 2 minutes to take notes. Then I would love it if somebody would be willing to speak live. And this is a no judgment zone. We'll keep it all very positive and constructive, but it's a great way for you to get feedback before you take your test, right? And get some practice being nervous like you will be at the test. So here's 2 minutes to take notes. Okay. So now we get 2 minutes to speak. Is anybody feeling brave enough to do this? And on Tuesday nights when I have tutoring, almost every week somebody does it. Every time I do this, somebody does it. So I'm hoping somebody will tonight. Is anybody wanting to do this?
I'll be brave, but no terminé.
Yay! Anita,
Pero no-
good job. I'm excited. Okay, so 2
Pero-
minutes and are you ready?
Ujú, sí.
Okay, go for it.
Gracias. Por medio de este ensayo quisiera dar mi opinión. Yo estoy de acuerdo con el grupo de maestros que piensa que cada maestro debe recibir la misma cantidad de dinero para comprar los útiles o materias escolares para su salón. Y me gustaría dar mi opinión y decir por dos razones. La primera es que no todos los maestros necesitan las mismas materias. Por ejemplo, el maestro que da la clase de ciencia tal vez necesite útiles para el laboratorio y no necesariamente necesite más libros. La segunda es que, que si no necesitamos más libros en español, si nada más somos una maestra monilingüe, entonces no necesitamos usar ese dinero y no es justo que compren las materias que no vayamos a usar. Espero que les gusten mis razones y gracias por su tiempo.
That was very well done. It was 1 minute and 10 seconds. So you would, you wouldn't get full credit because it wasn't close to the 2 minute mark. But what I really want to commend you on is you picked one idea, you stuck to it, you used proper Spanish. I very consistently hear people say no más when they're speaking, but you said nada más, which is the more formal, correct way. So your Spanish was spot on and you had good ideas. You could have said too that it would cause division, right? That people would see it as unfair, things like that to fill up the time. You can also kind of maybe not totally repeat yourself, but rephrase. I think it's easier to defend yourself with the other position myself. Because do you guys want to hear an example of the other position?
Yes, I would like to.
Okay, does anybody want to do it? If not, I'll do it. I have a response that I was practicing. Okay, so I'll do it. It won't be perfect, but it'll be a good response. Buenas tardes. Hoy voy a explicar por qué los maestros bilingües deben recibir más dinero para sus salones de clase. Para empezar, sabemos que los maestros bilingües tienen que enseñar en los dos idiomas y tienen que enseñar todas las materias, la ciencia, las ciencias sociales, los lenguajes de arte y las matemáticas. Y los estudiantes tienen que desarrollar su lenguaje académico y cognitivo en inglés y también en español. Si no tienen los recursos en las materias en los dos idiomas, no tendrán la oportunidad para desarrollar su español y su inglés cognitivo y académico. Además, si ha pasado tiempo buscando recursos en inglés y en español, va a darse cuenta que los recursos que están disponibles en español son muy escasos y cuestan más dinero que los recursos que están disponibles en inglés. Por eso los maestros bilingües necesitan más dinero porque todo cuesta más y tienen que usualmente gastar de su propio dinero para sus salones de clase. Y eso no es justo para los maestros bilingües. Además de enseñar el lenguaje académico y cognitivo y además del hecho de que los recursos son más caros, también sabemos que hay muchos niños de educación bilingüe que son más necesitados y no tienen libros en su casa. Y es muy común que los maestros bilingües manden libros a la casa para la tarea, libros para la lectura individual con sus padres. Y necesitan dinero para poder comprar estos libros para que los padres puedan leer juntos con sus hijos todas las noches en su primer idioma para desarrollar su lenguaje formal. So see how I gave specific reasons, right? And I think it's just easier to defend that position. But I have heard somebody talk and give a, a good long response on that it's not fair. And for this one, there's no right or wrong because this is not a pedagogy thing, right? So it's not one answer that's right or wrong. But you want to pick a side, defend it, use proper Spanish, vary your language structure, all of that. Any questions so far about that? No? Well, we're almost to the really good part, the lesson plan, which I think is what everybody wants help on, right? And I do think it's the hardest part of the test because they're going to give you a lesson plan that you have to write in Spanish, right? About something you haven't seen before with no resources. It's absolutely insane because when you're teaching in the real world, you always have resources. You can always use a book, the internet, you can ask somebody, but here we get a real limited amount of time to write all 3 writing tasks. I think they give you 70 minutes. Let me double check my memory on the writing. I think it's 70 minutes. Yeah, 70 minutes to write all 3 tasks. So a little over 20 minutes for each one, right? So I like to leave myself more time for the lesson plan and a little bit less time for the email and the essay, right? So for the lesson plan, there's rubrics that show you how to get a perfect score, right? So definitely read over these rubrics, but let's look at the lesson plan rubric. So we want to fully address all categories: grade, vocabulary, materials, procedure, assessment, show a high degree of content. Everything needs to be accurate and appropriate for the objective and the grade level, right? So if you have kindergarten students reasoning abstractly, well, that's completely inappropriate, right? Materials have to be appropriate. The assessment instrument described elicits appropriate information on targeted learning objective and is appropriate for the grade level. Response is well organized and coherent. Show a high degree of a variety of structures. So you're varying your language structure, just like I was saying for the speaking, where we're differing our tenses, right? Very few errors. So notice it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Varied vocabulary, very few errors in the conventions of language. Notice this. They specifically mention orthography, spelling, accent marks, punctuation, sentence structure. Accent marks, I think, are what gets most people. Because I know when people turn in their assignments in my course in tutoring, I ask you to upload your own speaking tasks and I give you feedback. That way, if you're too shy to do it during tutoring, everybody gets feedback. You upload it in my course. And same thing with the writing. And most people turn in pretty good written assignments, but they don't put accent marks where they belong. And they're going to count off about 33% for that. So that's going to really hit you hard. And then register as appropriate, the right level of Spanish. So this is what they give. They give you the topic, the subject, materia, artes del lenguaje y lectura. And I can tell you that when I took the BTLPT, and most of the people that have been emailing me lately about their test, now we don't talk specifics because you sign that affidavit, but people will tell me that they got a language arts one. That's what's most common, right? So yours might be different, but most people are getting language arts. Tema, los rasgos de no ficción. They give you the subject. Then the objetivo, they give you this too. Después de la lección, los estudiantes identificarán los rasgos de textos informativos. So after the lesson, the students will identify traits of informative texts. They will not give you this. I did this just so you could see that all of these objectives are related to the TEKS, right? So I found a TEKS that correlates to this and put it on there just so you could see it. But they don't give you that. And you don't have to memorize the TEKS, but it is good to read over them, know what's expected at each grade level. That'll help you know what grade level to pick, because then you have to pick the grade level that's appropriate for that objective, right? Luckily for most of them, lots of different grade levels will work. Then you have to pick the vocabulary words that go with the objective. Materials, right, that you'll need for your lesson, activities that go with the objective, and an assessment that assesses the objective. So let's look at this. They have to identify traits of informative text, nonfiction, right? So I looked at the first grade TEKS, and even in first grade, even in kindergarten, they're doing this. Now they're doing it with adult help, but it says, reconozca las características y estructuras del texto informativo, incluyendo la idea central y la evidencia que la apoya con la ayuda de un adulto, rasgos y gráficas simples para localizar u obtener información, patrones organizacionales tales como el orden cronológico y la descripción. Now this will help me know some vocabulary words to use, right? Now you're not going to be able to access these on the test. That's why it's good to read through the TEKS and get familiar with this. And the TEKS are free. You just Google TEKS in Espanol and they come right up, right? And I'll put it in the chat box too. This will help you get better at your cognitive academic Spanish in all subject areas, except for fine arts, because they don't have anything for fine arts. But that's the TEKS. So let's go back. So then the vocabulary words that I pick all have to do with nonfiction, right? Texto informativo, idea central, evidencia, orden cronológico, secuencia, datos, eventos, principio, medio, final. All of them have to do with a nonfiction text. Materiales, video, organizador gráfico, libros de no ficción, biografías. So everything's related to the objective, right? That's important. Procedimientos. Al principio de la lección, la maestra introducirá las palabras del vocabulario. Luego verán un video que explica las palabras. Después, los estudiantes usarán las palabras en oraciones originales. Very important that you say how you're going to teach the vocabulary. You'll lose points if you don't do that, right? La maestra explicará que los cuentos son de ficción, pero hoy vamos a aprender de la no ficción. Vamos a leer algunos textos informativos. La maestra va a explicar cómo adivinar la idea central y va a mostrarles cómo poner los datos de un texto en orden cronológico. Luego juntos van a leer una biografía corta y sencilla sobre Rosa Parks. Van a buscar los datos y los eventos. En un organizador gráfico van a colocar los eventos de la biografía en orden cronológico. Van a discutir los rasgos de la no ficción que encontraron en el texto. So if we go back to this, they'll identify the traits. That's what we had them doing, right? Putting things in order, identifying the traits. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the vocabulary words, do they mention it? Like, because I've taken it once, but ever since then I haven't taken it again. And I've been like reading and like doing my best to best prepare myself to do it again. But I don't recall the vocabulary section. Like,
Yeah.
that is it new?
No, it's not new. It's been there the whole time. You have to write the vocabulary words.
Oh, okay. Maybe I did not notice. Okay. thank
Yeah,
you.
that if you missed points, maybe that was why if you forgot to do that part. And then the evaluación has to tie into the objective. La evaluación formal es el organizador gráfico. La evaluación informal es la discusión sobre los textos de no ficción. So see how we had them identifying the traits, right? Using the vocabulary words, using a graphic organizer, which shows we understand, pedagogy. So that's a lesson plan. So we covered a lot, right? And you guys kept me entertained with questions and everything like that. And thank you so much for reading and participating. Did you guys learn something tonight? Yes. And some of you might, hopefully you're here for the right test because I know.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, good. Yeah, the BTLPT is not easy, but it does have a better success rate than some of the other exams. And I've had really good success lately with people passing this summer. I got so wrapped up with everything else, I forgot to show you all my other testimonials. These are just some of them. This is from Angie. This test is a total nightmare, but I finally passed on my 5th try. So she had a lot writing on this because she already had her job. She's on her 5th try, so she was going to need a waiver if she had to take it again, right? Courtney Schoenfeld's tutoring was the most helpful resource and the reason I was finally able to pass. So she had tried a bunch of other things before she found me, books, other programs and things like that. But we worked together and she passed. So I was super excited for her. And then let's see. And then I have one more testimonial, I think, on here, and I have even more than that, but these are the ones that I wanted to show y'all tonight. Nope, that's the one I just showed you. Forgot to do the one in reading. No. Listening, forgot to do that one. This one's from Anna. And she sent me her score report. Sometimes people send me their score reports, which I always like. And she did really well, 253. You can see she didn't send me she did send me the whole score report. That's right. So you can see she did really well. And I was so excited for her. So, so if you need help, you know, I have a course only option where you get all the practice, the reading, writing, listening, speaking, but you don't get the weekly tutoring. So people, it helps, but for most people, they need that weekly tutoring. And we meet Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central. And it's a lot like this, but instead of like doing a little bit of each domain, we focus on one domain each week and give you lots of practice in that one domain. And people really participate and I enjoy it. So you get everything with the course, and then you get the weekly tutoring. So people are more successful that way. Of course, it is more expensive, but the results are, you know, going to make it worth your investment. I always think of it as an investment instead of a cost, right? If it's going to help you get your job. And I do have some people only stay with me for a couple of weeks, and that's usually not enough, to be honest, right? Because it takes time to get better at anything, especially language. So I do recommend you stay with me for 2 months, and there's a discount if you stay 2 months. And tonight, if you pay for the 2 months, the $339, then I'll give you a half-hour of private tutoring for free, which I've never done before because I have very limited availability for private tutoring. But I wanted to make there's some incentive to try to get people in the 2-month plan because it is an investment. But there is a payment plan. So if you select Afterpay or Affirm at checkout, it'll break it up into 4 interest-free payments or even 12 monthly payments with a small interest rate, if that makes it more affordable for you. So it brings it down to around $40 a month. So I try to make it where money's not going to hold you back, right? And if you think about the fact that you're going to be making $60,000 a year after you pass your tests, that's something, right? So you can do that. If you're too nervous to pay for 2 months, or maybe you have to take your test in 5 weeks and you don't have 2 months, right? Well, then you can pay by the week and it's a little bit more expensive. But just be careful because when people don't do it long enough, it doesn't, you know, you're not going to probably get the results you want. It's still going to help you, but it might not help you get your 240. Now, if you just want the course, if you're super self-directed, you know you don't need tutoring, you just need a course, well, then I do have a course only. But what I've noticed a lot of people do is they sign up for the course and then later they end up doing the course in tutoring, right? So they end up spending more money that way. So again, if you do the 2-month option tonight, then I'll schedule a half-hour session with you by email. We'll just pick a day and time that works for both of us. And you can get a half-hour of tutoring with me, which is great because right now my private tutoring, I barely have any availability. I'm almost fully booked. But I kept a few spots open for anybody that wants to sign up for the 2 months tonight. So definitely think about the 2 months with Afterpay or Affirm, and that gives you the payment option. And think about how excited you are about teaching, right? And how this could help you get your $60,000 or maybe even $70,000 a year job, plus TRS, right? TRS is a great program. My husband actually has TRS. He's not a teacher, but he works for a college system. He's an engineer. And TRS is a great retirement package. So, you know, he's going to have a good retirement when he's still in his 50s because he's going to do the early retirement plan and take a small penalty so we can retire young and travel, hopefully. That's the plan, at least, if it works out. But tonight, I will send you guys the links in case you didn't catch them in the chat box and you want to sign up tonight. Is that 30-minute private tutoring is good for just tonight, to where I'll give you a half-hour of private tutoring for free. And that's great because then we work on exactly what you need. So if you've taken the test before, you send me your score report, we work on exactly what you need for 30 minutes. You get, you know, my full attention. Any other questions or comments or anything?
Are you going to send us the link for the lesson plan? Are you going to?
Oh, yes, thank you. See, I always forget that. I'm going to put it in the chat box right now. I'm not going to email that out for this reason, because when I email the recording tonight, it goes to everybody that registered, but not everybody who registered shows up. And I like to give the lesson plan only to the people that took the time to come and stay till the end, which is what I promised. So there's the lesson plan. And then if you guys have any questions or anything, you can call me or text me and ask me your questions before you sign up, or email me, because I know that you probably have to think about it, right? So some of you might be ready to sign up right away, but if you need to think about it, you can text me or call me, and I'll be happy to try to put your mind at ease. But yeah, I think the weekly tutoring is a game changer because I don't know of anybody else that offers what I offer, where you get the tutoring, right? You get the course with all the practice, and then you also get feedback on your writing and speaking. Yeah, so tonight, if you sign up for the 2-month package, I'll schedule a half-hour session with you. But the other prices stay the same, and everything's the same. And if you guys sign up tonight, even for one of the other things, what I can do is send you some extra lesson plans. So if you act tonight, I can send you some extra lesson plans for whatever program you sign up for, even if it's just the course only, to thank you for coming, because I want to thank y'all for being here. So tonight you can get some free extra lesson plans if you sign up for the course or the course in tutoring. So this is, again, just for the course, and this is the course in tutoring, which is, people are more successful. Is there anything else I can help you guys with?
Do you like the Pearson one where you pay the $10 to do the Pearson? Just like, I need a lot of help reading in Spanish. Do you like those stories?
I love it. It's excellent. It's not, it's probably not enough to help people pass, but it's a great diagnostic tool to see if you're ready to pass. It's not enough practice to really, get better. And it's also only going to test your reading and your listening, right? Nobody grades your writing and speaking, but it's definitely worth it. I did it before I took the BTLPT, and I scored in the green and everything, and I passed, and it was really close. Like for the reading and listening, it was really close to my real scores. So I definitely recommend that.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks to you guys. I love what I do, love my Tuesday night group, and I hope to see some of y'all there. And some of y'all I already know from my Tuesday night group, so it's good to see some familiar names and faces. So I hope y'all have a great night, and again, just give me a call or send me a text if you have questions about signing up. And I think you'll like the tutoring because you're always just a week away from seeing me and asking me your questions. But thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.